I'm scrolling through TikTok and I run across this like old programmer guy. He's funny, he does these skits. But TikTok has a way of showing you interesting things, and I go further down the rabbit hole to someone that has a bunch of interesting drama going on. Apparently, this woman is a software engineer at a one of those top end companies. Won't say which one, but she's managed to train teams of people, set company standards, take on very challenging products, but for some reason she's stuck at this junior software engineering level, and she's being put on a performance improvement plan, which means you're going to be pointed towards the exit door soon if you don't shape up. And I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And so I have to, in her TikTok stream, there's a series of videos that there's 11 parts. And so I have to sit down and listen to it. And once I get to part 4, I'm like, aha, okay, I see what's going on. So we'll just go through the first 4 parts and touch on parts 6 and 8. And I'll just give my opinion of the situation. Her LinkedIn profile is currently set to open to work, and she's just making a whole bunch of ruckus. That's what we want. We want drama in the workplace, right? No, we don't. You're gonna put your head down and work and be quiet. Part 1 is issues. She's grateful for validation that she's received online, and she's realized that she's working herself to the bone for a lie. Now, when I've worked at places, there's one quote that I overheard. Don't know who said it, but it was over the cubicle wall. Any IT career, when you work at a company, it's just basically your IT career is going to die. That also rings true here. Part 2, psychological abuse at her employer. Oh, no, this is not about you. This is about some lady that just likes to blather it all online. I'm sorry, I'm having a sidebar with the GF. Oh, no, this is a woman on TikTok. Okay, I'm sorry for that interruption. She was a subordinate to less skilled and knowledgeable managers, and this was part of the abuse. I've never had a problem working for really incompetent people, but yeah, they're definitely out there, and most of them are that way. But again, she wants that recognition and validation, and she's not getting it. She says she's the sole owner of a product, received validation from a lead that she is an expert, again, grasping for validation, and she got it there. Connected with other people of other projects, which is good. She's making those connections. Influence other powerful people, working those connections. And her manager got involved, and she had to meet twice a week with him to learn knowledge from her. Now, in the next part, this changes. The manager is no longer learning knowledge from her. He's stealing that knowledge. How did it go from learning to stealing? I don't know. And she's realized that he's incapable of mentoring, scoping projects, and communicating effectively. Scoping a project is basically, if I had to tell you, and this is in layman's terms, that this is a pen and I want you to change the ink in these pens, most normal people will go in and do it. But when you scope a project, I have to tell you exactly which pens to change the ink from and what type of ink to use. The manager doesn't have time for that. He just tells you to do something and expects you to do the work. And all of a sudden, she's going around and she's mentoring people who joined the team. And she's not recognized for that because she's meant to do work, and now she's just helping everyone for some strange reason. As a result of her influence, again, not her work, but her influence, she got 2 objectives of the highest priority prioritized. No one was assigned to work on them. Probably because you were supposed to do some work. Maybe. She worked, and this is important, in her free time for over a year to gather content for it. Now, if I scroll down to part 6 of her video, and I'm going through my notes here, she stated that she's being coerced to overwork. But going back to part 3, she had to work in her free time for over a year to gather content for it. So in part 3, she wasn't coerced. And for some reason in part 6, she suddenly was coerced. And then she started leading teams, which is awesome. She's mentoring them, she's leading them, but she's not doing work. Like software development, that's what you were probably hired to do. She chose not to do it. She received validation from a technical manager from overwhelming success of her work, established an information architecture that onboards new hires. That's a good thing. They can ramp up quickly and do the job quickly. That saves the company money, which she does highlight in, let me see which part here, in part 8, which is good. Establish a process for helping junior hires, and she's also leading the team meetings for them. So she's running the show, showing some initiative, which is good. But in part 4, she endures the psychological abuse of her management. She has some medical issues in part 1, and she was denied accommodations by them. I think they should have granted her those accommodations, whatever those were. And then she starts complaining about management not scoping her work again. Again, they just want you to do the work. They don't have time to hold your hand and show you what to do. She complained that the code is messy and complicated. Everywhere you go, you're going to be diving into messy and complicated code. You have to figure it out. Or what they should have done within the first 6 months, they should have just booted your out. I know you don't like me hearing me say that, but she received mentoring, but it was not sufficient. I'm sure sufficient mentoring would also not be sufficient. Requested onboarding documentation or allow for 6 months to onboard if none could be supplied. I was given a 1-page document at the current job I work at. I was told if I couldn't figure it out in 2 weeks, I'd be shown the door. If I were to say I need mentoring for 6 months, my contract would have just ended, and they would have replaced me. Actually, they wouldn't let it end. They would just probably cut it in about 2 weeks. Or maybe they go for months and months and months. But usually if you just start and request 6 months to figure things out, yeah, you just be kicked out. But what I think happened is that she requested 6 months to figure out how to do things. And instead she documented the whole entire system and then trained junior developers, got them on her side, starting doing team meetings. And occasionally she referenced scaled an engineering team via a documentation effort. So instead of doing the work, you just document everything. And they wanted to see her do the work. She completed a level 4 task that no one has ever completed. So she actually did do something. That's good. but it required that her manager help her with the very last part of it. So she didn't like working with the person that she reported to. And sometimes you have to work with or work for people that you don't really care for. Welcome to the real world. It was undocumented team-specific syntax, and that was the reason for getting a mediocre performance rating as a junior engineer. The first time around, she got a not applicable. At one point, she got a non-applicable, and this time she got mediocre because she actually did something. Yeah, in part 5, she mentioned that she got the NA rating on the first full performance cycle because she was just documenting stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you join a place, you have to dive in, figure it out, get help, ask for help. And I would do less documentation and more real software engineering work. That's it for this video, and of course, thanks for watching.